the Panda Photographer here, guys. I'm in New York City at Brooklyn Bridge in Manhattan. I went out today to shoot street photography with the Tamron SP 90mm micro lens. I'm going to confess a little bit of details about the lens. Okay, even at f4.0, it does suffer from color aberration. There's some purple vision, to be honest. I went to the Lion Beer store to take some photography, and I noticed when I was taking photos of a certain glass or glasses that it did suffer from some purple fringing. I noticed, but other than that, I understand why some photographers were making the argument about the transmission light. I do have to say, to be honest, that it's not as advertised, and I'm not saying that it's not good lens, but it's actually I have stopped under the transmission lights, to be honest. So right now I'm about to get on the 4 train to go to Brooklyn to take some photographs in Brooklyn. But these images that I'm going to show you, I'm going to explain what I saw or what I am going to explain. But other than that, it's still fairly a very good, excellent lens for the price. For $700 US, it's actually a really good lens. It performed pretty well. I'm not going to say that it's not a great lens. It's an alternative for your A-mount users looking for a new micro lens. But other than that, let's get to the photos and let me explain what I saw in the photos, in the bokeh, and the transmission lights, and the contrast, and I started recording and I forgot to start the video. Stupid me. But I want to show you guys the image quality coming from the Tamron SP 90mm micro lens. Now, I had no tripod. All these shots were handheld. So I'm going to show you guys these image quality tests and see how well it actually fare up to, say, like any other micro lens on the market. Now, I am going to testify something that I stated in like part 2 of my segment of the Tamron SP90, that I think the Sony is still sharper than the Tamron just a bit, but this is still a good performer for the price range that Tamron is actually selling this on the market. But let me show you some of these images. So I was on a train heading back to Manhattan, and I decided to take some photographs of some high contrast photos of in letters. So you can see what it says Borough Hall. You can see there's a little bit of purple fringing. This is not the sharpest image to say, but this is a good example of why you should always test the lens and do a review on it. And you can see this bit of purple fringing right there. Even though it's still not sharp, you can see the purple fringing. And right here is where it gets sharper. And you can see like the color rendition is pretty good, pretty accurate. But I think, in my opinion, this could be more red, because this is not really red color. This is more like a reddish orange color where the number 2 train is, and that is actually completely red. So I think color rendition is a little bit off, just by a little bit, but still doable. You still can fix this in post. But other than that, you can see how it's sharp here but soft up here, and it gets much softer as I go up, as you can see. Much softer. So we can tell that the focus point was directly here when it's much sharp. But other than that, it's fairly did well. Now I took another picture of the Lion King poster, not advertised, not sponsored by Disney, but just want to show you the contrast on this. And it's still not sharp on a shaky train, but here's where the focus point was. And this is where it gets sharp, then it gets soft as you go into the corners, and it gets much softer right here when it says musical. And I'm having a difficult time with the lens actually keeping sharpness, but you can see that contrast levels is pretty nice. The yellow poster that's a natural yellow. That's the yellow I was looking for. So I had to calibrate the Kelvin temperature on my camera every single time I took a photograph. And that's because I want to get an accurate representation of the photo that I'm taking. Especially with the Sonys with the EVF, shows you in real time automatically what you're about to take. So here's another photo here. And I wanted to focus on white contrast targets. And you can see that it's soft in the corners, and my focus point was right in the center, almost in the center. But I'm going to actually show you guys that for some reason at f2.8 I don't see much banding or fringing or chromatic aberrations here. Let's see here. Let's check that off, see how well that does, and still don't really see any, but you can tell that this is really sharp. I shot this on full mode, not 0.3 mil at all. Pretty sharp, pretty decent. You can see the textures in the poster, very fine detail. Now here's a good picture of the New York City map of the subway. I think this is a good representation of colors. Now I'm just gonna brighten this up just a bit so you guys can see it. Expose that just a bit. There we go. And you can tell that accurate colors, especially with the Sony A-77 Mark II, which is the crop sensor, so it's equivalent 90 times 1.5 crop sensor. You take your focal length and you multiply by 1.5, you get 135 mil. So I think this is a perfect good example of color addition. Blues are blues, orange is orange, yellows are yellows, greens are greens. Now, I do see, like, you see this this bluish I forgot the color. I'm sorry, brain dead. It's been a long week, guys, but you can see that there's some red here. I think the red should be a little bit more saturated, and you can tell the difference. You can see this red is more red, and this is not as much red. So this is more or less red than the 1 train. This is the 1 train, by the way, on the west side. This is the 2 and 3 train on Malcolm X Boulevard in New York City and Harlem. So you can tell that it combines and then it gets corrected a little bit. And this is how I see the colors. I'm not colorblind, that's for sure, but really good representation. And it's a really good high contrast photograph. It's not sharp because I was on a train moving, but you can tell where you can see a little bit of sharpness trying to peek in, but other than that, it's pretty smooth and it gets soft as I go up. And this was shot at 2.8 at ISO 400. And then the interesting part is where I got off the 8th Street, Astor Place, and the East Village. You can see that where I'm not moving on the train. Now this is sharp. This is shot at 3.2 at 90 mil at ISO 400 at 1/60th of a second. Now if I expose this just a bit, brighten this up, you can see the fine textures, the details. A little noisy, you can see noise. That's because of the ISO. But I do see a little fringing up here, just a bit. Not too bad. Let's see if we can find any more fringing. Don't see any here, but a little soft, but still sharp at the same time. And then I shot a image of 14th Street because this lens is has a good focal length, and it's not as sharp, but color addition is pretty good. I would have to say that I'm pretty much in love with the lens. I'm not saying that it's my favorite lens. I'm saying that it is actually a very good lens for any Sony A-mount body users that are looking for an alternative to a Sony micro lens, because I know Sony FE micro lens is probably one of the sharpest lens on the market. And does it compare and fare up to it? Not quite, but we have to see. And if you guys didn't see part 3, of the portrait test, I found it to be really sharp. Sometimes it hunts a little bit, not as much as the Sony's though. Sony's hunt like crazy. It just hunts pretty bad. So I'll take a shot of the moon, and I want to see if I can get some overcasting and some flaring, but it turned out pretty nice, not too much, just like the moon should be, nice and bright. This is about 5:30 in the afternoon, in the evening, so pretty nice. I like the contrast in the sky, and this was shot at ISO 500 at f2.8 at 1/50 of a second handheld. Yeah, so let's see here. Look at this building. Details a little soft. Now here's where it gets interesting in bokeh. Separation, focus breathing. Now, I don't see much focus breathing. I haven't compared the Sony's yet to the Tamrons, but I would say there's no focus breathing, but the bokeh, a little busy sometimes. Now, let's take a closer look, and the bokeh is nice and circular, but almost egg-shaped like, but a little busy. You can see how busy it is and see how it gets distorted just a little bit, not perfect. In certain cases, you can see how that just gets a little bit busy and sloppy, in my opinion. And it gets egg-shaped here, but it's very creamy, very smooth, but a little bit messy, not so perfect. Now, here's where it gets interesting in the bokeh. Depends on the distance. So, these bokeh shape circles, those are perfect. This was shot at f2.8, ISO 500, 1/50 of a second, handheld. I think the bokeh looks pretty good. I think it fares fairly well with other micro lenses. I don't have a favorite micro lens, and then for some reason it gets very eggy shape when it gets to the corners. You see how the shape changes as it gets into the corners, and as it stops in the center, it just gets perfectly circle. Not sure why that is. Have to do more a test and analyze the lens a little bit better, but you can see it's like perfect circular motion, and then when it just gets in the corner, it just gets egg-shapey. Just weird. Just like this one didn't get egg-shaped at all. You can see that it's really busy here in the center, and that's because of the light texture of the design of the light bulbs. Now that could be one possible reason why it's so a little bit busy, in my opinion, but this fairly is beautiful bokeh, very smooth, very creamy. If I had a subject right here, I'm pretty sure that I would have good separation by far. And as I said before, as you go up on the image, you see how the bokeh gets egg-shaped on top, and then it comes down, it gets perfectly circular. With the Sony's, it was doing that in some cases, but not as much as the Tamron here. So yesterday I went in to stop and talk to the owner at the Lion Beer store, and Angie that works at the Lion Beer store, and Daniel, and I wanted to get some photos of some glass and some good light and some separation in the contrast wall. And I'm going to zoom in here. ISO 800 at f4.0 at 1/60 of a second. So guys, pay attention to what I'm going to show you right now. You see the letter N here? You see the purple fringing? It's shot at f4.0. And there's a purple fringe there. It's a little bit there. And as I move it down to the corners, right there's some purple fringing going on there. Nice details on the back wall, by the way. The lighting was perfect, and you can see the details sharp as hell on the glass. This lens is really sharp by far. Little soft right there, but that wasn't the focus point. It was just, see how the back of the glass is sharp, but the front of the glass here is not. Very good detail. There's some fringing going on in the lettering here. You can see it, but it's stands up pretty well. And let me show you another image where I saw more of the fringing. Let's see here. A little bit down right here, yellow, green, yellow, orangey fringing right there. But fairly sharp, fairly decently sharp at ISO 800. I'm very impressed how the Sony A-77 Mark II hold up in a low light situation. I typically don't use it in low light situation unless I'm doing video with the cinema 18 to 35. But yeah, you can see some of the purples right there. You see it, purple fringing right there on top of this glass here. Some purple fringing there. But fairly still sharp. You can look at that contrast, really sharp. But if you guys are ever in New York City, go to the Lion Beer store, 6th Street and 2nd Avenue. Nice place. Owner's so nice to me. And here's where soft in the corner, but sharp. Oops. Sharp down here, but and more bokeh. So this was shot on 3rd Avenue and St. Mark's Place, facing towards 14th Street. And now the bokeh looks really nice, really decent, but this is where it kind of gives off some flaring here. Not sure why that happened, but maybe the light was too bright, maybe someone had their lights on too high, but you can see purple fringing right there, shot at f2.8. There's fringing around the bokeh, fringing there, see here. But nice bokeh, nice softness to the bokeh, creamy, egg shape. As I said before, once you go on top of the image or in the corners, it just gets egg shapey. You can see it right there, egg shapey, perfect circle, egg shape, perfect circle. See, same thing on the right and the left. It's just a little busy. Now flaring. Now I do have a video on the flaring. I took it this morning, and I would have to say that you guys have to examine it yourself. It handles flare well, but as a micro lens, it does it just fairly, not perfectly. There's a bit of higher flaring. I'm not sure if I had a defect on the lens on the coating. I've seen others have great success with flaring on the Tamron, but maybe that's just a Nikon and the Canon's version. This is a Sony version, so you can tell that it's sharp here in the corner here. And I'll show you guys that video. And here's another last video on contrast, and fairly holds up. This video is pretty long. I just want to show you guys in depth what I've been doing with the lens, evaluating the lens capabilities as a portrait and micro lens and videography lens and landscape lens in some cases. But you know me, I like to do a street test to determine if it's good or not. But other than that, yeah, that's all the images that you see here, nice and detailed. Contrast levels are pretty nice, sharp, color reduction is good. But other than that, yep, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching, everyone, and please do subscribe to the channel. Please do go to my website, 646studios.com. You can see tutorials on photography and videography. You follow me on Instagram at ThePandaPhotographer, and I will see you guys in the next one.